Hey guys, how you doing? I wanted to just take a minute here and tap into the power of hope, because I know there's people out there that struggle with addiction and the insanity and chaos of it. And it's gnarly. It's really, really bad. You know, if this is finding you and you are a loved one or a friend of someone that is caught in addiction or the cycle of it or just can't break free from it, there's hope. And if you're caught in it, there's hope. I want to just share some of my story and let you know, trust me, if I can do it, anybody can, okay? Because something happens in our hearts when we hear it from somebody that's actually been through it. There's a seed of hope that gets planted that begins to shift mindsets and shift our perspective towards things and the culture that we have created in our own heart. It starts to come alive. Oh my gosh, if they can do it, I can do it. And when you begin to hear stories of people that have been through similar things, you realize you're not the only one, because addiction has this nasty way of doing that. It pinning us into a corner and making us think no one understands what I'm going through. Nobody can relate to what's happening to me. I'm the only one that deals with this, and none of that's true. None of that is actually true, but it can seem very real, and that can seem like that is the only thing going on, is my world and what is going on. And it's dark, and it's dangerous, and it's nasty, and I know from experience. And I want to just share a little bit of that, because if you can relate to some of my story, okay, or if you're a loved one of somebody who is dealing with this is going to give you hope, okay? Because I was bad. Things were bad, okay? I have now been free for 9 years, and I have a beautiful wife. We've been married over 2 years. We have a very happy marriage. We have 2 kids. See the car seat in the back? There's another one for a smaller baby, because we just had another baby. I get to help people come out of addiction and step into recovery now. We have 2 businesses. Things are well. But there was a point in my life where I didn't know if I was going to survive the day every day. I should be dead so many times over that it is not an exaggeration in any way, shape, or form. And I watched, not right before my eyes, but all around me, as around... I've kind of kept track. It's around 30 of my friends have died. Acquaintances, friends to some extent, overdoses, suicides, car accidents, crazy freak accidents, all sorts of different things, because of this beast of addiction. It started for me when I was 13. Started as it does for most people. You really don't know what you're getting into, what you're doing. You want to fit in with the cooler kids, whatever. It started for me, and I just smoked some weed for the first time. It was whatever. It was somewhat of an escape, okay? Because there's this pinball game of chaos going on in my thinking inside my mind. Zing, 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 zing. What about this? What about that? How come this? I never fit in or felt comfortable. I didn't really know. And when some substances and chemicals came in and calmed the storm a bit, be it the counterfeit to the real thing, it gave me some bit of relief. And as anybody that has struggled with addiction will understand, I just said to myself, well, if a little will help a little, then a lot's going to help a lot, right? Of course, that is not the case, and that is how many people have died and become slaves to addiction. You know, I remember thinking back, and I was like, I'm just free. I do what I want, you know? Like, if I want to get loaded, I'm going to get loaded. If I want to stay out late, if I want to do this, if I want to do that, I'm free. The truth was, I was not free in any. It's not freedom for me to say, well, I'm free. I'm going to go get as drunk as I want. No, I was a slave. There was no freedom in it. I was a complete slave. There was this mixed up confusion, this dark paradox in my mind of, I'm free, I can do whatever I want. No, I was an absolute slave to it. I could do nothing that I wanted. All I could do was stay loaded. All I could do was drink. All I could do was get high. And it got worse, and it got worse, and it got worse. And at the age of 15, it started when I was 13, 14, it had progressed to the point of having no grid for reality or safety or my future or anything, that at the age of 15, the first time I drove a car, it was a high-speed chase with the police. The first time I drove a car, I actually got into a high-speed chase with the police. Managed getting away, but through long circumstances, we actually ended up having to pay for it, but it was less because they didn't catch us in the act. But that sent me to my first kind of youth home, whatever, quick stint of rehab, some classes I had to take, the first of many. And one would think at that age, you would say to yourself, okay, things are not going good. This needs to change. No, there was just no Nothing like that came into my thinking. All I was thinking was, I'm just not going to do it again. I can deal with this. From the beginning, I knew it wasn't working and I didn't like it. But from the beginning also, my thought with that was just, I'm going to continue to do it. I'm just going to manage it. I can do this. I can just drink less. The alcohol makes me creative. The drugs make me have more energy. We come up with so many, whatever you misdiagnose, you mistreat. And addicts are self-diagnosed experts. And we just, alcoholics, we just diagnose ourselves. Well, what's happening is I just have social problems, so I need a drink. You just misdiagnosed, so now you're mistreating and you're drinking and it's making everything worse. That was the cycle of my life. By the age of 18, I tried to commit suicide for the first time by gassing myself in the garage. My sister found me. It's crazy to think about and talk about. My sister found me in the garage. She lived on the other side of town. She said, I felt like I had this feeling that I should come and just come to the house for some reason. She did. She caught me slipping in and out of consciousness. She caught me. And I went to another rehab by the age of, I think it was 21 or 2 or something, the Odyssey House in Salt Lake City. Not a fun one. Not a fun rehab at all. Went there, left after 5-6. I was actually doing really good in like the progression of the program. And then one day, I had a thought that everything was good. I got to get out of here. These people are getting way too close to the reality of what's really going on in my heart, because I just created this defense mechanism. It was all if you will, it was weapons, defense mechanisms I had created to keep you away from what was really going on inside of me. Because if you knew what was really going on inside of me, you would not want to talk to me. You would not want to be friends with me. Nobody's going to want to know me or be my friend. If they really knew what was going on inside of me, nobody. So I had to keep people back with multiple different things that were all unhealthy. And that's what happened at the Odyssey House. Is it got to that point where there's probably some real progress that was about to start being made. And so, I skipped. I was loaded within an hour. And again, shortly after that, I totaled my car and got in a hit and took off. It was a hit and run, and I got away. So I only got the reckless driving or whatever, hit and run, not the full extent of what it should have been. Shortly thereafter, I got a DUI, and it was jail visits, and it was hospital stays. I went to the hospital too many times to remember, for overdoses or drunken brawls getting stitched up, or sent quite a few people there to get stitched up. It was just insanity. I should have died there were so many times I would just eat a handful of pain pills, which was right at the top of the list of addiction. I would and mix it with alcohol, hoping I didn't wake up. But I always did, and another friend dies, another relationship failed, for some reason I just kept thinking, if I moved somewhere, it's gonna get better. If I just go somewhere else, it'll be okay. A new girlfriend is gonna make things better. And there would be these short stints where things actually would get a little bit better, but it was never prolonged. And even if it did sort of subside for a bit, it came back worse than it ever was. And so the progression continued. The depression got worse. The arrested again, warrants piling up and things. And it was madness, to the point where you would think one person would be like, okay, I should stop. I should try something else, because this clearly isn't working. For 13 years, it was that. For 13 years, it was such depression, anger, suicide attempts, voluntarily, involuntarily, however you want to look at it. Everything you could ever possibly imagine. Another rehab, another hospital visit, another arrest, another failed relationship, and it just got worse, and it got worse, and it got worse, and it got worse. At the age of 26, I was in this, and most of this, well, pretty much all of it happened in Utah, where the addiction problem is just as bad or worse than anywhere on the whole planet. Most people don't know that, but it is terrible there. And I was right in the middle of it, just as bad or worse than anyone. And by the age of 26, I had moved again, because I kept thinking if I moved, I was going to be different somewhere else. And I didn't know that when I got there I was. And so there I was holed up in this little apartment, drinking my life away, just guzzling down ridiculous amounts of alcohol, not doing drugs at that time, just simply because I couldn't afford them or didn't know where they were in that little town. I had moved there to try and get clean. It was not happening. Can anybody relate out there? Do you have a family member that's gone through these cycles? Are you going through these cycles? Man, it's craziness. It's craziness. There's a way out, though. So at the age of 26, I drove back to my parents' house, because I had talked to them. I'm like, man, I want to go to a rehab. There was something in me that knew there was some sort of life out there. So I drove back, when I pulled into their town. I had no license, no registration, no insurance, and I don't know, somewhere 2, 3, 4, 5, a handful of warrants out for my arrest for just stuff I never dealt with. Because I just kept I kept thinking if I avoid the problem, it'll go away. Can anyone relate? No, the problem just gets worse if you avoid it. Time heals all wounds. No, it doesn't actually. It doesn't. If I just kept avoiding things and the wounds of my heart kept getting worse, time is going to help heal it if it's properly addressed. But if it's never addressed, it just gets worse and worse and worse. It was so evident in my life. Anyways, I drove, from this little tiny apartment I was drinking myself insanity at, and I drove home. Got pulled over right when I pulled into the town that my parents lived in. And cop comes up to the window. And I had no license, no registration, no insurance, warrants, and I just surrendered. I was like, you know what? Whatever. There's no way out of this one, okay? Chain smoking cigarettes, because I smoked at the time, because I knew I was going to jail and I wasn't going to be able to smoke there. So I'm literally, he's come up to the window. I'm almost done with the first one. And so he goes back to, he comes to the window. I hand him my expired license. I said, look, man, I have no license, I have no registration, I have no insurance, and I have a handful of warrants. Here you go. I just surrendered. And something happens in your heart when you surrender. When you just say, look, okay, I'm going to try, okay? I didn't have it figured out, but I was like, I got to do something. I got to try. I got to figure this out. I don't know, maybe I won't figure it out, but this life sucks and I need a new one, okay? Because this is terrible. Long story short, take me to jail. It was a Friday night, Monday morning, see the judge, go before the judge. Judge says to me, all right, here's the deal. We can let you leave now, and you got to deal with these new stuff, all the old stuff, which is still a pretty good deal. They were going to let me leave. Crazy. But he said, or we're going to wipe your slate clean, and you just need to do 2 weeks in jail. And I thought about it for about 1.5 seconds, and I said, send me to jail. So there I was in jail. They let me out, actually, like 5 days early. I get out. Right after I got out, I did go to a rehab. I went to the rehab, came back from the rehab, and was in Utah, packed up my stuff, and I moved to San Diego, where I now live and have lived pretty much the whole time for 9 years. And then I began to just say, you know what, I'm going to try. I'm going to make an attempt at this thing. Okay, I have to do things different. If things don't change in our actions, they're not going to change in our circumstances. And if we don't start to address the way that, I had to address the way I was thinking, because if my thinking didn't change, my actions never were. So there had to be change that came about, real change that came about. So I had to do things different, because if I kept doing it in the same way, there would be no change. Actually, it was going to change. It was going to get worse. There was going to be change no matter what. It was going to get worse or it was going to get better. There was no standing still. That wasn't going to happen. And I started to change. I started to give it an attempt. There was still I got clean for 3 or 4 months, and then I thought it'd be a good idea to eat a handful of Vicodin, and then I drank for 2 weeks after. I had to do a little bit more research to just make sure, that it wasn't going to work for me, and surely enough, it didn't work, and I lived, luckily. And so, I just began to, and God came into my life, okay? He was there long before. God, however you understand God. Look, a lot of people who struggle with addiction, they have this, it's hard for them to get a concept of God, or if God is real, why this, why that? And those questions aren't going to help you, okay? This will, though. If you can just believe that there is a God, that's it, okay? And that the God is powerful enough to help you. You just got to start there. You don't have to have it all figured out or defined, okay? That will change. But if you could just start there, you have something to start with, okay? And if you believe there is a God, but you don't believe God is powerful enough to get you out of the circumstance or your loved one out of the circumstance, well, here's some advice. Maybe get a different God. Because I'm telling you, there's a God out there that is big enough to do it beyond your wildest imagination. That's my story, okay? Now, at that time when I got real with things started to shift dramatically. Yes, there was some discipline that came about. Yes, I needed structure. I got accountable, and I started being around people that understood what was going on with me. Not just people whose advice was, why don't you change? Because I can't. I don't know how. But I got around people that understood it, and they began to help me. I began to be humble and realize clearly the way I'm doing things is not where I don't have it all figured out, because the way I try and do things has led me to hospitals, jails, institutions, rehabs, dark, lonely, dangerous places, okay? So clearly the way I'm doing things is not working. So I'm going to stop thinking that I'm an expert in this area called life, and I'm going to get some help. I'm going to try. I don't even know if they're going to help me. I don't know, but I got to trust. This has to change. Something has to happen. I began doing some 12-step meetings, and honestly, for me, this, I probably had to do this to live at first. I would wake up every day at like 5:30 in the morning. What happened was I became just as crazy for a real life as I was for a bad one. It just flipped. I became just as crazy to know God. I became just as crazy to succeed and fix the problems. And that energy, you see, what I see with so many addicts and alcoholics is this: there is massive. You are not a problem that people will constantly have to caress you just so you can manage and maintain life. No, this is what's happening. There's so much resistance against your life because there is unlimited, untapped potential. The possibility of how amazing, what a gift you could be to the world when you're living free, sharing that hope. How much dreams and creativity and drive and passion is in you. If you apply that you applied to the problem, to the solution, you're not just going to be okay in life, you're going to thrive and inspire so many people you won't even be able to keep track of it. And I just became crazy for the solution. I didn't focus on the problem anymore. I identified it, but then I lived in the solution. And what I did was I started going to like 2 a.m. I would wake up at like 5:30 in the morning. I would read spiritual books. I would pray. I would go to like 2 AA meetings. I would help homeless people. I started help. And all of a sudden, a shift started coming about in my thinking. All of a sudden, a relationship with God, right? And God began to do things I couldn't do on my own, right? Freedom began to come. Addictions fell off of my life. Some of them just disappeared. I wish I could tell you the exact definition, how, what, when, where, why. Some of them just left. I mean, I was addicted to pornography, drinking, every drug you can imagine, okay? Cigarettes, tobacco, negativity and depression, because you could be addicted to negativity and it's going to cause no good in your life. All these things I was addicted to. Initially, almost all of it left. It just left when my focus became the solution, not trying to fight the problem, but the solution. Freedom poured into my life, and it was within like a year and a half. All of those addictions were gone, and they've been gone. It's all gone. I haven't stopped drinking coffee. Maybe you can tell by how fast I'm talking, right? But all those addictions left, okay? Now, something happens when and now all of a sudden, I began to learn how to live life. Guess what? Just because, I thought for the longest time that me doing the right thing, some reward should come, some celebration should happen. And granted, we should celebrate our successes and victories, and we should be around people that celebrate us too, and I had positioned myself in that place. But I realized something, okay? I realized that the reward for doing the right thing is not having to deal with the consequences of doing the wrong thing. And I had piled consequences so high in my life, it was insane. It was insanity. It was constant consequences, spiritually, emotionally, mentally, physically, legally, relationally. That's the start, okay? I could go on. There were so many problems with relationships, with my financial situation, with being able to work, with all the spiritual chaos that came into my life through that. And when I began to focus on the solution and take intentional action steps on a day-to-day basis, one step at a time, began to shift that, a freedom came into my life and a momentum came into my life that stuff is so far gone now that I literally live my life now. Okay, helping people out of those places. Like I mentioned earlier, I have a beautiful wife. I wanted to marry a Brazilian my entire life. I'm not kidding. And I did. And she's beautiful and she's amazing. She's powerful and she's strong. She's amazing. I have 2 sons, healthy, beautiful, happy, got more energy than my wife and I combined. We don't sleep much, but that's okay. That's okay. Life keeps happening. Everything doesn't go perfect. I can't control life. It's total MO of addiction. You want to control everything. You want to control people. You want to control situations. You want anything that's going to make you uncomfortable. And I realized I just got to let go. I can't control anything. I can't control that. Yeah, sure. I began to live in a way where I wasn't creating more problems. That's a great place to start. You're creating solutions and you're positioning yourself for less problems and more freedom in your future. But I can't control the way my day unfolds every day, but I can control how I respond to it. I'm not reacting out of fear or this or that. I'm responding from a place of healthiness and life skills. No, I don't do everything perfect. No, you're not required to do everything perfect to step into this. But just getting honest with yourself, starting right now, getting honest with yourself about, do you really want to be free from this? Nowadays, with the coaching stuff that I do, people come to me and they say, yeah, but you don't understand what I've been through. That might work on some people, but it doesn't work on me, okay? I've been through it. It doesn't work on me, okay? That victim mentality just kept me sick forever, and that victim mentality is just going to keep you sick. That victim mentality needs to die, and you need to become an empowered overcomer, because that's your true identity. I'm telling you, there's a freedom beyond your wildest dreams. Those crazy dreams that you have in your heart that you feel like are fantasies and pipe dreams, that is not a dream. That is a reality. When you, because I did it, you can do it. When you just begin to take one step at a time, say, I can't do this, I don't have it figured out, I need some help. A lot of times we think getting help is a sign of weakness. Getting help is not a sign of weakness. Getting help is a sign of strength. It shows that you're teachable. It shows that you know there's a way out. It shows you don't have it all figured out. That's a sign of strength, because you're positioning yourself to grow into the life you know is available. I'm telling you, you can do it. There's a God out there big enough that can help you do it, all right? And there is a life beyond your wildest dreams that is available for you. No problem that you have created cannot be solved and fixed and actually flip the script on it, and you begin to use the problems of your past as components to help you launch in your future. You begin to use the problems of your past to help other people get out of their problems. You begin to use the life lessons you learned from your past to keep you out of the same mess in your future. And actually, then the script gets flipped, and now you actually use your past as a weapon for a better future. I'm telling you, it's not just a maybe slight slim possibility for you. Absolute probability you can do this thing. It is possible. It is absolutely possible, and there is a God out there big enough to help you do it, all right? Freedom is beautiful, and it's amazing, and it's all grace, and trust me, if I can do it, and so many other people that I have talked to, if I can do it and they can do it, you can do this. You can do this. If you're a family member that has a loved one or a friend or something going through it, hang in there, okay? They can do this, and you can be a bright light of hope in their life to help walk them into their true potential. It's possible. It's beautiful. I know so many people that have done it, and you're looking at it right now. Listen.